There have been dozens of videos talking about why you don't need a gimbal, and the explanations make sense. So let's get them out of the way right now. If you're on a budget, you could probably better spend that money on an upgraded camera body, a variety of lenses, or even just a solid, sturdy tripod before you even buy a gimbal. If you're new to videography, a gimbal can make you lazy and less methodical when it comes to filmmaking techniques. And the smooth gimbal look has become kind of oversaturated and... Okay, so there's a lot of truth in those statements, and I don't really disagree with them fundamentally, but there are also really good reasons for owning a gimbal. It's a tool that can cover a wide gamut of use cases, and I consider it the Swiss Army knife of filmmaking equipment. So, without further ado, why you need a camera gimbal. As we previously reviewed, this FeiyuTech AK2000 is one of the most affordable DSLR camera gimbals on the market today. Coming in at a $300 price point, its value proposition is not one to scoff at. But $300 is still quite a bit of money, so why do you need a tool like this? Well, to start off, number one, stabilization. The first practical use of a gimbal is to stabilize your shots. This turns handheld shots into smooth, floating shots. Just that alone makes run and gun projects significantly easier to shoot, because none of your shots should ever be too shaky to use. As a matter of fact, one of the benefits of a gimbal is that if your arms can keep up, you can replace your traditional tripod shots with a non-moving gimbal floating shot. Yes, of course, you can't stand in one spot for a 30-minute wedding ceremony. And of course, there will be slight movement, so if you're doing visual effects that requires a lockdown shot, this won't work. But let's say you're recording the bride and groom's first dance. This allows you to get those sweeping shots, but also allows you to get those stationary floating shots. The true benefit is that you can consistently be shooting and there's very little to no downtime, as you don't need to switch between setups. Number two, the Swiss Army knife of filmmaking gear. One of the arguments against gimbals is that it makes filmmakers complacent and lazy. It removes the need to be methodical and your shots end up being all over the place. But why? Well, that's because the gimbal can do everything you need without all the other pieces of equipment. So, of course, as a byproduct, you're just gonna go start feeling out whatever shots you want and just go with the flow, which makes the end product look a little bit less planned and a little less coordinated, but the inverse is also true. If you spend the time to plan your shoot, then the beauty is that you don't need to switch between different setups. As a matter of fact, you can achieve nearly all of your shots with just this one tool, a gimbal. Do you want a tracking shot? Boom, you've got it. What about a reverse tracking shot or a side tracking shot? How about a dolly in or maybe a dolly out? Stationary shot, panning shot, tilting shot. What about craning up or craning down? Want to make it more complicated? How about a tracking shot where you crane up? Or what about a slide left with a pan to the right? Now let's crane down while rotating. Or how about a tracking shot around a subject while panning to keep them center in frame? We just performed every standard camera movement in the filmmaker's toolkit, all with one piece of equipment. Now, of course, like anything else, you'll need to practice each individual movement to get a pleasant looking product. And you'll definitely need to get to know the quirks and capabilities of your specific gimbal. But if you do that, all of those movements and any myriad of movements you can create by combining them is possible. Now, I obviously know that a gimbal can't replace a slider for a perfectly steady slide shot. Another thing is you can't produce repeatable motion-controlled shots for visual effects with a gimbal, nor can you get an actually perfect still stationary shot holding a gimbal. You can't replace a real tripod, but it can do just about everything all in one piece of kit. And so that brings me to 3, price. Gimbals can run from anywhere from $300 to tens of thousands of dollars, but even with an entry-level gimbal like this one, you can start planning all of those camera moves and incorporating them into your next video. Well, what's the other side of the coin? Well, you could buy the cheapest versions of every other piece of equipment instead. like this $50 newer slider, this newer Steadicam for $79, this newer $40 tripod, this $100 newer crane, and sure, that comes out to be less than $300. And I'm not really sure how good those individual pieces of kit are going to perform because I haven't used them, but you'll have the specific tool for the specific job. But now you've got yourself 4 additional pieces of equipment to lug around. And you have to spend a considerable amount of time setting up, swapping setups, and breaking down everything for every single shoot. Side note, you could also just get a Steadicam instead of a gimbal, and even get a really nice Steadicam, and that comes with its own challenges and rewards, but for the sake of this video's runtime, we won't be diving into gimbals versus Steadicam. But there you have it. Those are the big reasons why I think you need a gimbal. I've always agreed with the notion that your gear will not make you a better filmmaker, but it will open up your options. One of my first purchases after I got my camera and lens was the Ronin M, and that gimbal had served me extremely well for years. And when I got it, it didn't make me complacent and lazy, it let me experiment with all the types of shots that I couldn't get before. All of a sudden, I had this entire new set of options available to me when shooting videos, and I improved because of it. All right, well, hopefully that was useful for you guys. If it was, go ahead and leave a like and drop a comment down below. Why do you think a gimbal is necessary or not necessary? If you guys want to see more content like this and be the first to hear about a new video when it's uploaded, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.